All right, welcome to another episode of First Impressions, the ad tech unboxing video series. And today we have Burt Intelligence, which we've talked to Carl at Burt before about some of the other products that he has, but he's got something new to announce. Carl, as co-founder CEO, can you tell me a little bit about Burt Intelligence and what you've got, what you're kind of, I won't say here to announce, you've already announced this, but I want to dive in deeper. So can you tell us a little bit about what your vision is and where this new product fits?
Sure, absolutely. So for anyone who is unfamiliar with Burt, we're a decision intelligence tool working within the advertising ecosystem. So we focus a lot around very specific use cases around a media company and apply domain expertise and AI to help uncover the data needed to make decisions. Examples of this is, of course, processes within ad operations, pacing, programmatic reporting, discrepancies, client facing. It's touching secondaries such as the finance org or the sales side of the house needing these reports. And then, of course, what we're going to talk about today, the yield department and the forecasting that we help with.
Yeah, so one of the things I love is that term decision intelligence. It's something that I think isn't really used in our industry as much, and it's something that like starts to pull together. This is more than reports, right? And can you talk a little quickly about that and things like Bird Advisor in terms of how people and publishers use that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we all come from sort of the reporting side. Many years back, that was the big problem we tried to solve, was to get all my data in one place so I can build dashboards. That's now a solved problem. And what's really happened is that very few in the organization are really empowered with the tools and expertise to really draw conclusions and act on this data. That's generally analysts, engineers, other specialized functions. So what decision intelligence is that we do a lot of the analysis on the data, and then we present that to the end users. So it's generally deployed as receiving an email in the morning when you get into work, Slack notification, other means where you would be presented with, this is the most important thing that has happened today that you need to take action on. And we'll then want to go further to just help describe why it happened and what's the recommended actions to take. So it's really the next evolution in where the industry is heading. And I think everyone can identify with the fact that a blank canvas where you in theory can do anything is quite intimidating and time consuming. And we really want to bridge that gap of just presenting the insights that matter and help people and more people to make these decisions.
So where does Inventale fit into that concept of what you provide to your clients?
So Inventale is a AI-driven forecasting and inventory management platform. So it's built by extremely capable engineers, PhDs, and focusing on the problem of not reporting what previously happened, but what is going to happen. So it will look at all your ad traffic and run a live simulation of your sites, your ad servers, and how that all interacts in order to answer the question, am I going to be able to deliver this particular campaign with this targeting in 2 weeks from now? And if not, what are the contenders of that inventory? So I know where to go and make adjustments in case I really need to deliver this campaign. And building price into that, that's a very natural extension of also providing support in how should I price my inventory, what's the supply and demand profile look for various slices of the inventory. So for us, it's a perfect fit into the portfolio that we're building out in quite focused or niche workflow processes of knowing how to deal with a new campaign coming in, and if it's not available to book, then know what to do about it.
So interesting, right? And again, this is something I've been working on understanding inventory, forecasting, and pricing for a couple of decades now, Carl. I hate to put a time on it. And there's an aspect of I've always had to settle for kind of what I'm able to do, right? And to your, I mean, the way you even just framed it, right? I first understood my history, so then I tried to apply that concept kind of going forward. But I can only do so much, right? I can only do so much with outside in Excel. Google Ad Manager has the tools, it gives a forecast, and somewhat depending on what I'm doing, it seems okay. I don't, believe me, I have my challenges with that. How is this different than, like, say, the tools that are in Google Ad Manager that are kind of included within that tool set, today?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're absolutely right. For certain use cases, Google Ad Manager is everything you need, and generally that applies to what we call quite simple campaigns. So, run of site, run of network, one simple geo targeting of US traffic, for example. And the reason is that Google Ad Manager is quite similar to the models you would build out in Excel. It looks at past performance and then extends that into the future. The challenges where you probably already run into many times is once you start to apply targeting, the available competition space decreases, and that's where you start to see some quite vast discrepancies, simply because the amount of data that you could either include in your Excel models or within Google Ad Manager is just too small. So you get massive sampling errors, for example. We actually did a study on how we compare against Google Ad Manager, and I think it's quite interesting. To the left, you have these simpler types of campaigns. So not really a whole lot of targeting. And there, Google Ad Manager performs pretty much the same level as Inventale. But as you go to the right and you start adding more and more complexity to the campaigns, which is really what we're seeing in the industry, that's how you get up the CPMs, that's how you promote and differentiate your inventory against just a random billion impressions out there. That's when you start to see a vast decline in the accuracy of Google Ad Manager, and really combining frequency capping, key values, and some geo targeting, you're way below 50% accuracy, which is not great if you're running a multi-million-dollar ad business. And I think here is really the opportunity, and where we're seeing a shift in the world, that we want to provide very cost-efficient tools to help with. People who may not have a 10-person data science team to build these type of algorithms in-house, but still have that complexity where Google Ad Manager isn't providing the accuracy needed to be able to run the business on it. And we all know, I mean, you just start adding buffers in every step of the way to counter for this, which is waste and lack of monetization.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the analogy that pops in my head is the difference between throwing a dart and hitting the dartboard, and throwing a dart and trying to hit a particular number, right? Because if it's just throwing the dart, yeah, it's pretty good, at that. And to your point, like many run of site campaigns I have, but those are the lowest CPM campaigns I have, right? So it's the buffer, the error issue is not as much of a problem if I ever run into something there. But the minute someone asks me for something specific, then again, I even have, to your point, adding buffers, not in just the ad server, but in the sales process. By taking my number, let's say chopping it in half after I've already tried to mentally buffer it, so that no one has the problem of over promising and under delivering, right? So we're trying to avoid that. And so what I see, and again, if I understand the technology here, yeah, I'd love you to elaborate on this. This is running simulations, which is so much different than, Google Ad Manager taking historical data and applying it to the future, right? And I think other systems kind of work the same way, of kind of a simple algorithm around that. This is doing something different, right? And so that again is helping you hone in on these smaller pieces. And again, ultimately, that's going to mean more that you feel confident about opening up and selling, right?
Yeah.
And hitting what you need, or reacting to any particular issue.
Yeah. And when I say that simulation, it really is. So we look at every single impression in your inventory with all the different attributes that impression has, key values, targeting, cookie values, whatnot, and run that live simulation. So it is possible to, within seconds, get a question answered. Am I gonna be able to run a frequency cap 3 per day, dog owners within the US on the pre-roll or mid-roll positions 2 weeks from now, just within seconds. And that is literally hundreds of millions of combinations for even a quite simple setup, if you're gonna sort of go the old-fashioned route, and Excel only handles a million rows. So it's definitely some limitations there. The mission really for Inventale, and you're touching upon this, is to make sure that every valuable impression is monetized. So we really want to help to never ever use unnecessary buffers, or put yourself in a position where you need to do make goods or added value upcoming weeks just to counter for a under delivery. And at the same time also empower the RevOps and AdOps side of the house to have a conversation more proactively with sales and saying, hey, you know what? We don't have this inventory, but if you increase the CPM, you can get priority. Or if you run it for 10 days instead of 7 days, or if we add this targeting, you can really, instead of it being a waterfall where things just get pushed down and then everyone else has to scramble, you can run the organization where you can actually talk about this and include learnings from the ad side towards the sales side, such as pricing and programmatic strategies and whatnot.
It feels like this is using some more of a, an AI type solution, right? Running these kind of simulations, which is really kind of like a relatively new, thing of really trying to apply this, right? So again, I even think about some of the other solutions where it's, again, probably built off of this kind of performance. This is truly running simulations. And so I would love to see this, because I'm sure if you start showing me something, I'm going to start thinking through, well, either existing issues I'm trying to solve, Carl, or ones I've had in the past. So can we see what the product looks like, so I can start to map this out in my head?
Absolutely. So this is really the first view where you enter, looking at sort of your live inventory. And a first step that we like to do is make sure we have the products set up. So in this case here, I have mapped out this US dog owners with a frequency capping. So this is a product that you have a set price for. It's here, of course, possible to include any type of targeting. Once you save this, it's immediately pushed into the system, and we can then run a forecast based on this. Let's say 500,000 impressions next week. And we'll have to, here we're only interested in running it mid-roll, pre-roll. But here you, of course, have access to all the different inventory items. And here you can see the speed of running this forecast and receiving the response. Is this possible for us to do or not? And in this case here, we only have 477,000 available impressions. So here we need to do something. What it automatically points to you is all the other campaigns that are currently taking the inventory that this booking would need. So you can go in here, go to order management, and make a readjustment on one of these campaigns, or you could then, of course, do an override and say, well, let's say if we were to run 5 impressions per day instead.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the sort of scenario planning that you would be doing inside the system, which is generally a yield or RevOps type of function. And here we can see that now we're good to go. We have the available inventory that we need, and you would get that back to sales and make sure they go and close the deal. Another important view is, of course, to look at the running campaigns, because it is all interconnected. So if we push a booking, then of course that will affect everything else that's already running. So this is another view where you would go in on a recurring basis for a certain role and make sure that we deal with any under delivery that I've filtered here, or take care of how we should change priorities, potentially increase buffer, extend time. So you have every campaign in here at your fingertips. And a third important view is looking at the products you have. So if we, for example, were to look at the money section within news, we can first see historical performance, but we can then also see future performance. Seeing here, we actually, starting tomorrow, we're heavily undersold. So here we may either look at changing some of the big campaigns running. There's absolutely available inventory. We definitely want to get a ping out to sales saying that we need to do something about this, because already tomorrow we're going to be at only a 20% sell-through rate. So this is a way to analyze your products and actually derive insights around, do we charge too much or too little for certain products? How should we package them? Should we create new bundles where we can repackage this unsold inventory and increase prices? And this is a very common effect we see, is both higher effective CPM of your direct sold, but also drastically increased sell-through rates. Because just knowing this, of all the products you have, and they may be thousands, but to just know gives sales a chance to, instead of going and selling their favorite product that's already sold out, to make sure that someone pinpoints this, finds way of bringing in new customers. So these are the 3 main workflows that in a big organization, 3 different people will generally be responsible for the scenario planning on the forecast side, on the monitoring and the pacing of what's already sold and being delivered, and then the product strategy, definition of new products, do we have the correct pricing, and improving sell-through rate by just creating awareness.
I see, one of the things I see with this, and to your point, you said there was kind of 3 separate parts, right? And part of that, though, is not having them in their silos, having them in one platform, and so that you're able to kind of react dynamically, right? Because I can see an RFP coming in, it going through the request of like, do we have something to offer? Being able to maintain product integrity, and at the same time, some ability to adjust off of that if needed, right? See what, be able to create that see how that's going to play in terms of, say, an audience segment, right? And then at the same time, being able to go someplace to see how I'm delivering. So I don't, again, you can start to see how things stack up. And then, of course, obviously, again, if I've got a great product that's undersold, I can adjust pricing. I can work with sales to do that. So again, it's going back to that term that you use up at the beginning of that decision intelligence. It's about focusing on that piece of it versus just a number of reports or a pacing concept of like let's get into what's in trouble, solve for that, but then at the same time see what affects it and all those kind of parts. So I see myself having a lot of fun, if you will. I'm revealing myself to be an ad ops geek with this, but like to sit there and truly try to sit there and manage and find things for sales to go sell, right, at a higher CPM. I like that. I like that a lot.
And I really, I've been working in this industry for a long time, but came from completely different background. And I've always been amazed that this sort of sales can almost do what they want. And then at the end of the day, it's up to ad ops to take care of it or fix it. And I've always looked for where we can create those more bi-directional conversations where you can actually look at what's happening and derive a sales strategy or a sales opportunity from it and have it go both ways.
Right.
But to your point, I mean, the pacing, the forecasting, the product strategy, I mean, it is all the same thing. And changing prices on a product, well, that affects forecasts, and running booking a new campaign, well, that affects delivery of existing. So it has to be together. And from your Excel sheets, that even if you get some kind of model on forecasting in, well, then adding automatic impact on what's already been booked, well, that's another month in the Excel cave. And then drawing some intelligent insights on how we should price our products, well, that's next year. So it is a very neatly integrated product. I'm super proud of working with the team. They've done an amazing job building these the last couple of years. And to your question earlier on the AI components, what really sets this apart. One of those things is the reinforcement learning that's built in, which is we'll plug in, we'll backfill how many days of impressions you have, but immediately the system starts to make predictions and then learn and adjust. So by just running it automatically, it will learn and build out this simulation of your inventory, and that never stops. So it will take into account any seasonality, trends, changes. There's another very neat input of sort of how you can communicate with the system. So we know Super Bowl is coming up. It is then possible to go in and say, okay, on this day, I know that I'm going to get 80% increase in impressions because that's what it's been looking like last couple of years. Possible to specify this, but this is a way for you to communicate with a simulation, because it will then take this into account and make sure that's reflected in any forecasts. Or you're planning to make an acquisition of a new site into your network, well, then you can put in 14 million impressions per month constant from this date. So it is really fluid, and it's the same engine powering all this, which is what makes it so powerful.
You know what? That's amazing, it's you preempted one of my questions, which is events, which again, depending on your vertical, is key and an important thing to get right. So I see how you can add something in there. The other piece of this, right, is as we think about changes in the industry, audience first party data segments and just again, thinking about all the particular things that I'm going to have smaller segments I'm going to have to sell and be better at predicting what I can do and maximizing all of those particular impressions. So to me, one of the things I think is that if anything, I'm almost thinking of that chart you showed before. And again, please set up what you want to show next. But like, I was thinking of your chart before, right? Of we're just going to see probably less just run of site and more, can you do this specific thing? And having that as a talent, as something as a skill set, or capability is going to be key, right? Is just going to be able to nail and understand your audience in ways and how those particular pieces come, so you could package and plan accordingly.
Yeah,
But you've been cooking while I've been talking. What have you been building here?
No, I mean, I'm the same ad ops geek as you, so I just like playing around with it when I'm in the demo account. But I think a comment to what you just said is, in a way, programmatic has really solved what a lot of run a site, run a network handled before, and it's brought great efficiencies to monetizing your unsold inventory. But what's not happened is having the bulk of well-priced impressions. I think what the opportunity really is, and especially with change around third-party cookies, IDFA, whatever new acronym we're going to talk about in 6 months, the privacy wave. I mean, it's happening. It's just a question of when, but that will shift the need to more first-party defined contextual products, building out your own first-party segments, really having an identification strategy around some subscription business to really monetize and push up the value of your own and operated inventory. And that is kind of, the more information you add to these products, the higher the need for very accurate forecasts. Understanding how much, what's the demand for a particular product so that I can price it correctly, and really look at, anytime you're consistently at 90+ sell-through rate, well, I would just say raise prices. If you're having products sitting at 10, 20, where almost everything goes to open auction at $1 CPM, well, maybe lower from $3.50 to $2.50 and see if you can get it up, because it's still a big gap between the lower price direct and the vast bulk of programmatic.
Yeah.
And then turn that into a strategy which includes private marketplaces and well thought out direct products.
I think that's right, and I think that's something, again, what I feel like is, with a tool that's able to do what you're laying out here, is actually a little bit more confidence in doing that, right? Because I think that's part of the sales struggle to just the overall management struggle around this is, can you make smaller changes? Can you do things and see the results, right, in ways that, again, inform the industry? Like, again, comes back to decisions. This is something, Carl, you and I are going to talk a lot about, I think, this year, right? Is just making more decisions, making better decisions, and just and those things. I think it's something that, like, is key for us to start to bring to this. Now, my guess is I didn't think of every single scenario that someone, a publisher, might have for you. So I'm going to leave it to them to reach out to you to talk through. I guess I'd almost sit there and say, like, maybe I should make this the challenge. I'm going to make this the Carl challenge. All right, bring to Carl a inventory issue and let's see if this thing can run it. Like this is your scenario versus AI, and let's see how Inventale can do to hold up against that. So with that in mind, if someone does want to talk to you about this particular tool and everything else that Burt Intelligence does, what's the next step?
Yeah, so please reach out, and I promise you the team is on hold to take on your forecasting challenges. That's why they've been working on this for a long time. So please connect with us if you have any inquiries, either that you're currently paying for a vendor where you're not feeling you get the right ROI out of it, or you're using GAN, which is starting to become an issue for you because of the increased inaccuracies as you make more and more sophisticated products. That's really what we want to talk about. So either go to burtintelligence.com or reach out to sales@burtcorp.com. You can always find me in LinkedIn or other channels as well. And very happy to continue these conversations. This is really why we do this. Make sure we have great data that we can make accessible to everyone who needs it, and then provoke organizations to just make more decisions. That's what makes the world turn and where the money are being made. So thank you so much, Rob, for the opportunity to present this today.
Yes, really excited about it. Congratulations on this, and I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback of what you're up to next, as well as how people use this particular tool set amongst all your others. So thank you, Carl.
Thank you so much. Bye.